Hello, this is Ross Bliley from the podcast Pigskin Tales. This podcast is sponsored by Sterling Soap Company. With products sold throughout 41 locations around the globe, Sterling Soap Company has a unique assortment of products to choose from for your loved one for the holidays. Handmade artisan soaps created by Roderick and Amanda Lovin since 2012, these products are affordable and provide great value. Act now and save on your shipping costs. If you purchase $75 or more, your shipping cost is free in the United States. Shop now online at sterlingsoap.com.
Hey there, sports history fan. This is Darren Hayes, host of the Pigskin Dispatch and Jersey Dispatch podcast. I hope you've enjoyed another great episode here on Sports History Network. Now, speaking of sports history, this episode was brought to you by Firefly Books, and they have two great ones for you this summer. For basketball fans, they have the NBA 75, The Definitive History by author Dave Zarum, who's appeared on our Jersey Dispatch podcast recently. He tells about the experience, the thrilling journey of the NBA, from its humble beginnings to its modern glory. Uncover the untold stories of triumph, controversy, and the greatest stars of the game. This isn't just a book, it's courtside seats to over 75 years of NBA history. And for the golf enthusiasts, swing into The Golf Round I'll Never Forget by Matt Adams. Relive 50 of golf's most memorable moments through the eyes of the legends themselves. From Garcia's triumph at the 2017 Masters to Nicklaus' miraculous 1986 comeback, it's the closest you'll get to walking the fairways with golf's greatest. Get your summer read on. Grab a copy of NBA 75 or The Golf Round I'll Never Forget, available online or at your favorite bookstore.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.
Hello, sports fans, and welcome to another edition of Yesterday's Sports on the Sports History Network. Today, I am joined once again by my friend and fellow sports historian, Dave DePaola. We're going to have part two of our podcast on two-time heavyweight boxing champion George Foreman.
He made a really good point I think it was the day George Foreman died. Somebody had him on,
Right.
Atlas, as a guest. And he said in that round, and even in that whole fight, he said George got smarter as he got older. He said, and he talked about the Muhammad Ali fight, the loss to, he said, and Ali completely outsmarted Foreman in that fight. Not only did he did outbox him, he said, but really he outsmarted him even more than outboxed him. He said, but in that fight, he said, Foreman was making some punches like three-quarter. He tricked more into thinking that like he was out of his reach. Foreman threw a lot of. He started to throw a lot more jabs as he got older. He became a better jabber, and he said he threw these three-quarter length jabs. Teddy Atlas was saying, and then when Moore got in a little closer. He said, he talked about this all the time. He said, a guy will stand in front of me and let me knock him out. That's what Foreman used to say. Because they were kind of lured in. They kind of tricked them. And then, once he did extend completely, bingo, he hit him right in the button. It didn't even look like a hard. When you go back and watch the Michael Moore punch, it doesn't even really look like a hard punch, but he puts him out, and it's lights out.
He has so much power behind those. Yeah, a lot of those punches, you look at him and you think, it doesn't look like he hit him that hard, but he had so much force and power behind those punches. It was like getting hit by a cement block.
Yeah, I mean, they claim, a lot of people claim Sonny Liston hit the heavy bag the hardest. A lot of people say that George Foreman hit it the hardest. I don't know. There's a lot of talk between those two guys.
Both devastating punches. So now he's got the title. I think he's 40? He's got to be at least 45 years old by this time.
He is. He's a Michael Moore fight. He was almost 46. He was only about 2 months
46.
away.
And he wins the heavyweight title.
Yes.
And he defended that title 3 times.
Yes, he did.
Which is more than he defended it the first time. The first time he had the title when he was younger, he only had 2 title defenses. This time he had 3 title defenses.
Yes.
And then he lost to Shannon Briggs.
Let me tell you, Mark, I watched that whole fight last night. That was a disgrace. That was the worst called fight for judging that I've ever seen. It might be the worst ever. I watched that whole fight, and I'm going to be honest with you, Jim Lampley, like we talked about him earlier before we came on, but I said Jim Lampley was in tears the day George Foreman passed away. If you go, I'll send you the interview. He's not just a little. He's actually crying. Probably in at least 1/4 to a half of that interview with him. And he said it was very difficult for me to be partial as I did these George impartial. He said, I was always partial to George. He even admitted it. And he did that Shannon Briggs fight. And let me tell you something. That fight wasn't even close. I had that fight 8 rounds to 2 with 2 even for Foreman. Not even a close fight. That was a disgrace. Foreman should be 70. He should be actually 77-4. That should be his final record. He did not lose that fight to Shannon Briggs. I don't even know how Briggs got excited at the end when they announced him as the winner of the fight. Foreman completely, he was hitting him almost like rhythmically. He was just hitting Briggs almost at will. Briggs won a couple of rounds, might even have stunned Foreman slightly, but Foreman never was not in control of that fight. That's the other thing Teddy Atlas would talk about. He'd say Foreman, whether he was up or down or winning, or even if he wanted to control the fights. He wanted to control them. And when he didn't control them, he didn't control the Ali fight. He didn't control the Jimmy Young fight. And you could see it. You could almost see it in his face in between rounds, the anxiety that he was not in control. Even those fights that he lost, like he lost to Holyfield, he still was under control. He was still kind of almost dictating the fight in a way. You know, that was a big thing with him. But that Briggs fight was a disgrace. I want to tell you that. It was terrible. I'll send it to you. You can watch it. It was bad.
I never saw that fight. Don't think I saw that fight.
Yeah, I didn't even really know. I knew the name Shannon Briggs. Never really watched any of his fights, but they said he had an asthmatic condition, and they said if the fight went for a longer period of time, Foreman was going to win. But don't forget, Foreman towards the end was fighting more. He was going into the 12th round with these fights. Right? Remember in the beginning when he fought Ali, they said he couldn't go past 5 rounds? Now here he is. He's 20 years older, and he's going 12 rounds.
At that point, when he fought Briggs, he was almost 49 years old. He was almost 49 years old. And
that's right.
And after that fight, he retired. That was finally at almost 49. Quite.
I don't think he gave an interview after that fight, Mark. I was looking for it, like I watched the whole thing, and I think when he went up to Briggs after the fight and gave him some words of encouragement, Foreman absolutely thought he won that fight. It wasn't even close. Wasn't even close.
I have to watch that fight. I don't think I ever saw it.
Yeah. No, I'll. There's a couple of good, it's pretty clear too. The video on it's pretty good, but that was the end of George Foreman, kind of as far as fighting. It was, the guy. You didn't see too many heavyweights fighting over 80 fights or even 70, 60 fights.
No. So that 10-year layoff wound up helping him. Like you said, it was 2 different careers.
It really was. It was like, and 2 different kind of guys. Some people say his persona, after he came back was a little exaggerated, and he still was kind of had that mean streak in him, which you didn't really see. Because whenever he was on Letterman or he did the talk show circuit, he was always this pretty rosy guy, like always trying to make jokes and stuff like that. And some, they were saying, that was George Foreman. That was a little bit of an act, but they said remember after the Frazier fight, and then he had the fight with Ali in that time period. Remember he had the German Shepherd, and people were saying he's just a mean guy. He's a nasty guy. And, there was even some talk that he was a dirty fighter. I don't know if you remember all those things, but those were all common things that were going on at the time.
He wasn't really well liked. During the time he was the champion, he wasn't well liked. He was kind of had a surly personality. But you wanted to talk about that the top 10 list, right?
I did, Mark. The top 10 list. He came out with it, and it was the day that I think it was right around when Foreman passed. He had this list, and I said that he didn't have Holyfield on it, but people were commenting below in the comments that he had another list at one time, and Holyfield was on there. But the one that I watched, he was not on. At number 10, believe it or not, he had Lennox Lewis, and he gave his reasons for. He said Lennox Lewis lost a couple of fights that he probably never should have lost, but he always bounced back. And he fought a lot of guys. He fought the guys that were there. And he had him at number 10. I was kind of surprised at that. And at number 9, he had Larry Holmes. He said that Larry Holmes was one fight away from tying, his name? Tying Rocky Marciano.
Yeah.
That's right. And he said, one fight. He kept bringing that up. One fight, he kept saying, And he had a lot of respect for Larry Holmes. And at number 8, he had Jack Dempsey. And he said, Jack, people say, the guys that they weren't that big. He said, listen, it's just like any other. It's like sports. The football players were smaller in the 60s. The baseball players were small. It doesn't matter, he said. They fought who was around at the time. The boxers fought whoever they fought. And that was it. And he said, Jack Dempsey was the best of that era, And then after that, he had Gene Tunney at number 7.
Wow.
And I'm gonna send you this video because you're gonna like it. And then at the number 6 spot, he left it blank. He left it blank, and he said, "I'm gonna throw a curveball for all the fans out there." He goes, "Because I don't like to do things conventionally, so I'm gonna leave 6 open, and you could do whatever you want with it." Some people were putting Joe Frazier in there. Some people were putting Holyfield in there. I was looking. The comments were very, very interesting. And a lot of people were saying he left Holyfield off the list because he knew he was on. He knew he was on the stuff, and then people started arguing against it. That's where that conversation became very interesting. And at number 5, he had George Foreman. He had Foreman at number 5, and he said that the guy reinvented himself. And he said he was saying it there that the old Foreman, the older man, was better than the young George Foreman. You know what I mean? He was a more patient fighter. He was a better fighter. He used the ring better. He lost speed, but he was never really known for speed. So whatever he lost in speed was not that big of an effect on him for Foreman. You know what I mean? But he gained power. And don't forget, I think after he came back, Mark, I think he was fighting at about 20 pounds above his fighting weight when he fought. I think he was like 230 when he fought Ali, somewhere around there. And he was fighting in the 250s when he came back. He was actually 262, I think, when he fought Shannon Briggs.
Yeah.
Because I remember the introduction to the fight, because I just watched it last night. I think he was over 260 pounds. I remember that. So almost unheard. Well, maybe there's some guys today that were pretty big, I think. And going back to the list, at number 4, he had Rocky Marciano. He said, a lot of people won't agree with me on that, but you know what? The guy was undefeated. He fought a lot of guys when they were older in their careers. He fought a lot of the great heavyweights as they were older. And a lot of people held that against him. He said, but you know what? He was undefeated. And then at number 3, I was surprised by this because this guy studies a lot. He put Jack Johnson in there. Jack Johnson, he said, if you're going to be the first in anything in sports, that's a pretty big milestone. That's a pretty special thing. And Jack Johnson was the first black heavyweight champ. He said, and he, fought these guys, and he was a great fighter. He just went on and on about Jack Johnson. You know what I mean? And at number 2, he had Muhammad Ali. And he said, I know a lot of people aren't going to like this. He says, he goes, I got my reasons. I'm going to give my reasons. He goes, some people called him the greatest, and he was the greatest. He goes, but not quite as great as the guy I got at number 1. He goes, he just, the thing that impressed me about Ali, even though I didn't like him when I was younger as a fan, I didn't really care for him. He could take tremendous punishment, Mark.
Unbelievable. The chin.
Right?
He had some chin. Look at the guys he fought. Foreman, Frazier, Ernie Shavers. These guys almost took his head off, and he wouldn't go down.
Yes. He fought Norton 3 times. He fought Ron Lyle.
These guys were all heavy punchers. And
he had a tremendous. He could take those body shots that Foreman was throwing in that Ali fight. He was throwing some pretty good body shots. Some of them were very unorthodox the way he was throwing them, but he was connecting in the rib cage and you could see he was connecting. Those body shots were brutal. Some of them.
I think only, if I'm not mistaken, I think Ali only went down twice in his career. Henry Cooper was the first guy to knock him down from England.
Yes.
And then Frazier knocked him down. And I can't ever remember him getting knocked down after that.
That's pretty impressive.
Some people claim that Wepner knocked him down, but if you watch it, he actually stood. He was standing on top of Ali's foot when he hit him, and I think that threw him off balance. So I don't know I don't think that was ruled as a knockdown. I think it was ruled as a slip.
Yeah. And number 1, he had Joe Louis. My father, I was too young, but my father used to talk about Joe Louis, a lot. And, he's claiming that fight, the second Schmeling fight, was the most listened to fight of all time, easily of that era. Nothing even close to that. They say that the Ali Frazier 1 fight was the biggest spectacle in boxing history. A lot of people say that. But Teddy Atlas makes a case for that fight. Not the fight itself, but what it really meant. The fight itself only went 1 round. He knocked him out cold. And he didn't even put up much of a fight, Schmeling. I don't know how the hell he beat him the first time, and it went 12 rounds anyway. But Joe Louis said, no, don't call me champ until he fought Schmeling again. That's what the old story used to be. Don't refer to me. He was the champ. He said, but don't call me champ until I get that fight back. So he was very eager, looking forward to fighting. At the time was 1938, I believe, the second fight, right before World War II. And so that was a very big thing at the time.
Well, it's hard to.
It was an interesting list, Mark.
I think it's hard to argue with the number 1 pick because I don't know if anyone ever had as many title defenses as Joe Louis did. He had a very large.
20,
go ahead,
25 title defenses.
Nobody ever did that. That's a lot. That's a lot of title defenses.
He talked about a lot of things in this list, and one of the things I didn't know that Jack Dempsey was the first guy to have $1 million gate for his fight. Back then, imagine that.
Back then, $1 million was like $1 billion.
No, listen. He's very good. I'll send you that video. That was a great video. And prior to that, I did watch. I'm telling you, I still can't get over it. I still can't get over the judging in the Shannon Briggs fight. It's unbelievable, Mark.
That.
Yeah, but he was. Tell you, Foreman was something else. And they said, he did a lot of different type of training. He did a lot of cutting of trees and chopping wood.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of footage of that. Yes, true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was a great. There was one other controversial fight. Let me mention this. A lot of people thought that Axel Schultz fight with George Foreman in 1995 was closer than Foreman ended up winning the fight, but some people thought that Schultz could have won that fight. That was a little closer than people. That's on YouTube. You can watch that fight. It was a very close fight.
Yeah.
But I think Foreman was the champion at that time. And you know what they say? You got to. You can't.
It's gotta be,
you got to really take it from the champion.
It's got to be decisive when you're fighting the champion.
Exactly.
Right? It's got to be decisive. Well, I guess.
But I watched quite a bit of those, and I did watch the Tommyson-Morrison fight. That was some time ago, and that was a pretty entertaining fight. But Morrison was better than what I don't know what happened to that guy. He got sick. I know that, but he was probably sick for a longer time than what people thought.
Because he seemed like
you know what I'm saying.
He seemed like he was gonna on the road to being a champion, but then he lost something. He lost some fights that he probably shouldn't have lost, and maybe you're right. Maybe he was already sick and they didn't know it.
They said his training went off bad, started chasing women around, and that could have been probably why he lost some of those fights. Maybe he wasn't taking them seriously. Maybe he underestimated his opponents, but he was a pretty good puncher. Like, he was a pretty powerful guy.
Yeah, he could hit.
Yeah.
Well, I guess.
And I'm just looking over my notes, and I'm looking at some of the other guys that Foreman fought. And I'll go back to that Holyfield fight in 91. And I think right before that Holyfield fight, he fought a guy that played for the Oakland Raiders named Jimmy Ellis. He was a white guy, and it was kind of a bizarre fight. I guess the guy had some fights under his belt, and he took a punch. I'll tell you what. He stood up to Foreman. Foreman couldn't get him down.
At first, I thought we were talking about the other Jimmy Ellis, because there was, No,
I know you're. I know the other Jimmy Ellis.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. That's why I thought it was. And then when I looked it up, I'm like, this is a completely different guy. And so, this guy was a younger guy. He played football with the Raiders, and Foreman hit him with some heavy blows. This guy would not go down. I think they stopped it. They stopped it. The referee just stopped the fight. Because I think Foreman was looking for the referee to stop the fight. Like, what are you going to do with this? You're going to do something about it, because he was hitting him repeatedly without any guy hitting him back.
Once it gets to that point, you got to stop it.
I was really rooting for Foreman. I liked Holyfield a lot, but I did root for Foreman in that fight against him. I was kind of disappointed he lost, but like I said, when you watch that fight, when you go back and watch it, he took some rounds off Foreman, kind of, in a way. And I think that's when Holyfield would pile up points. He'd hit him 3-4 times right in that. Listen, we talked about Ali being able to take shots. Foreman took a lot of shots.
He sure did.
Even especially in this second career, he stood toe-to-toe with guys. He didn't move around the ring a lot. He stood right in front of guys and pressured them, and he would follow guys around the ring. Not fast, but enough to he was relentless, almost like a bull. And You compare that to early in his career when he was chasing, almost running after guys. You know, he looked a little like, it reminded me of when I used to watch, I watched some older fights of Max Baer, because they said he was vicious. He killed a couple guys in the ring, that was supposedly. Max Baer had that clubbing. He was clubbing guys. It was like it almost didn't even look like boxing. And there was a very good movie made with that Australian actor as Jim Braddock, I think.
Cinderella Man. Man.
Yes, I don't know if you ever saw it, but they turn on the camera and they're showing them a fight where Max Baer kills this guy, and those types of clubbing punches kind of remind me of some of the stuff Foreman was throwing in his first part of his career. You know, kind of like, and then against Ali, he was throwing these roundhouse.
Amateur.
They were almost,
you
know what I mean? But yes, exactly. And it's like, geez, you know, this guy destroyed Frazier, he destroyed Norton, and he looked like a completely different guy against Ali. He didn't even look like the same fighter.
He looked like an untrained amateur. Yep. Well, I guess
that's good, Mark. We got that. That was a good. I enjoyed looking up some of those things in preparation for this, because you know you can only remember so much. I always say that. You know, you can only remember so many things. Like you remember it as a kid, but it's not. Your memory is different now as an older guy, and so you remember how you remembered it, but as you think about it now, you realize, you know, like I said, I didn't like Ali at the time, but boy, oh boy, that guy took a tremendous amount of punishment.
I'm trying to think now. You mentioned that Foreman could also take a punch. Now I'm trying to remember, other than with him too. I know Ron Lyle knocked him down to the canvas, and Ali knocked him down, which was probably more from exhaustion than anything else. When Ali knocked him down, it was more from exhaustion. But other than Ali and Ron Lyle, I can't recall anyone else knocking him down. Can you?
No. You know, there's so many. He fought so many fights that you don't really know. But you know, I think I looked it up one time, Mark, and I think it was 3 times. He was knocked down by. I think only 2 guys. The one there was one time I looked it up and they said that Joe Frazier knocked him down, but he didn't.
No.
He never knocked him down.
No, I only remember Ron Lyle knocked him down and Ali.
Yes, exactly. Ron Lyle was another guy that was really. He was another guy that really went down. You know, a guy that you thought maybe could do more in his career. He was kind of like a one-trick pony.
He spent a lot of time in prison. Ron Lyle spent a lot of time in prison.
Yes, I forgot about that.
So he lost a lot of his career because he was in prison. I was thinking of somebody, one other guy. I was talking about when they asked Foreman which opponents hit you the hardest, and he said Cooney, and I forget who else he said, but the guy that was interviewing him said, not Ernie Shavers. You wouldn't put Ernie Shavers in that list? And he said, Foreman said, I never fought Ernie Shavers, thank God.
Really?
Said, I never fought Ernie Shavers, thank God. Because Shavers was a hitter.
I'll tell you, Ron Lyle did a pretty good number on him in that fight. In that Shavers fight. I didn't think he had him beaten pretty good.
Yeah, it was brutal. There was some really heavy hitters at that time. In the 1970s. Some very heavy hitters. You
know, Mark, we've talked about this before in the past. a lot of it's all about matchups. And that was the thing with the Joe Frazier fight with George Foreman.
Style.
He was a terrible matchup.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And he just he was powerful, Frazier, but he didn't have the power to go up against a guy like that with his style.
No, not with that style. Nope. It wasn't going to work. Yep, you're right.
Right?
Style. The style makes the fight. That's why Frazier and Ali had such great fights, because two completely different styles. And that makes...
Yeah. If you look at that trio of guys, think about it. Frazier beat Ali. Foreman beat Frazier. And Ali beat Foreman. Right?
Yeah.
Right? Well, they try to look for common opponents. When Foreman was fighting, one of the fights that I watched, they were saying, there's only one common opponent between these two guys. They fought around. It might have been either the Jimmy Young fight or the Briggs fight. I can't think of. They were talking about common opponents, and Foreman, beat him or knocked him down twice and this and that. It really that stuff goes out the window. I think. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's almost like in football. You can take those other matchups from earlier in the year or whatever they were. It doesn't really matter. It's kind of pointless, don't you think, or no?
Sometimes, two teams may play each other in the Super Bowl, and they'll look back to, well, these two teams played each other in week 3. Yeah, that was like 3 or 4 months ago. That doesn't...
No, exactly. Might as well talk about the Civil War. It doesn't make any sense.
Because a lot can change in 3 or 4 months.
But the same thing with the boxing. But I'll send you a couple of those. Videos, and usually I go on. The thing is, once you start looking at certain ones, and some of the other ones fill in. I got a couple of. On another note, I got a couple of other stuff I have to send you. I found a couple of old. There's a guy that's putting some football videos up. It's really, really good. He's very good. Something historian. I got to look it up, and I'll send you some of his. I'll send you some of his stuff.
That sounds good. Okay.
Yeah, he's got probably the most comprehensive set of highlights I've ever seen, easily by a long shot, of Bob Lilly. Okay. I think it's over an hour long, Mark.
That sounds good.
He's got an interview of Lilly after the Lions game, 5-0. Him and Leroy Jordan in the locker room, phenomenal. I'll get it to you tonight. I'll find it and I'll get it over to you. Yep. Very good stuff. He had a Tom Landry feature of Tom Landry Day, and I told him, I flew down from Connecticut for that. I said, and I have some great footage of my own personal footage of. I said, and then Landry signed autographs at this sporting goods store that I use, a regular customer. Lady said he's coming down, and I said I went over there with a picture. I said, Landry sent. I said, and he said, geez. I said, if you have an email, I said, I'll send you some of the pictures from all those. But I went to the parade. I said they had a flag football game after the parade at Texas Stadium, and then I went to the the signing the next day on a Sunday. The guy. I don't know where he's getting a lot of this stuff. He's getting a lot of this stuff from NFL Films, but he's got a lot of other stuff. And I'm like, this guy's got access to a lot of different stuff. Oh. But it's very interesting.
Sounds great.
But I enjoyed the talk today, Mark. That was great.
Yes. It was good talking about George Foreman and some boxing history.
It was 3 months. Yeah, we talked about it doing a little earlier, but we had a little things get in the way. But I think March 21st he passed away. So it's almost 3 months to the day. Wow. But at least we got it done. He was great.
Yeah, he'll be missed.
Yeah, and one other thing, Mark. When I was looking up stuff on Foreman last night, I guess some woman stole a car off of his property like a day or 2 days ago, like off of his estate somehow. I don't know how she stole it, but they said he had a 55-car garage,
Wow.
Foreman.
That's a lot of car.
55-car garage, right? Unbelievable. I think they valued the estate at close to $10 million. But a lot of that was from the grill.
The George Foreman.
The George Foreman grill, Mark.
Yeah, he was a good.
He said there was an interview. Yeah, there was an interview. He said he had to get back into boxing because he was broke. That's one of the main reasons why. While he was doing the church and the preaching and the ministry, he said, I wasn't making a lot of money and I needed money.
Yep.
Imagine that.
That's the way it is.
You know, if you think about that for a minute, maybe even in his mind at that point, if he was doing it for that point, at that time for the money, he maybe didn't even know where it was going to go.
He was just doing it for the money.
Right?
Yeah.
And then little by little, he said, I'm making hay here. I'm kind of getting, but it was a great thing. I remember my buddies and I got a big kick out of it when he came back in that second, and he got up into his 40s. Because at that time, Foreman really wasn't that much older than us. I mean, he was. Yeah. What
was he? 69 or how old was he when he died?
I think he was 74. I think. I'm not 100% sure. Well, I'm 65. So, I mean, it's not really that much older. It's within a decade. But, so when he was 40, we were in our late 30s. Like we thought it was, when the guy was 45, we were like, the guy's fighting guys in his 20s.
It was amazing.
No, it was great. It was great, but I enjoyed it. That was great.
Okay.
And
all right, we got it in, and that will conclude our podcast on two-time heavyweight boxing champion George Foreman. We hope you enjoyed it. Thank you, and God bless.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.
The Sports History Network, where legends live on and the past plays loud. Welcome to the place where history's proud. From gridiron glory to the hardwood stars, from the racetrack heat to Olympic bars. It's the voices, the stories, the moments you miss, told by fans and pros who live for this. Hook and Femic, the Sports History Network, where the past comes alive. Podcasts and blogs that keep the flame high. From Babe to Brady, Alley to the Dome. If it's history and sports, then this is the home. SportsHistoryNetwork.com, the headquarters of sports yesteryear.